Today I want to review the controversial episode of Different Strokes, The Bicycle Man. And the main reason why I want to review this episode is that I really want, as I'm working to improve myself as a writer, and also just somebody who's a better public speaker, I like reviewing like controversial subject matter because I can kind of just see what I've learned from it to make my writing a lot better, and also just pass on advice or like what I've kind of learned to help out other people who want to write, more edgier content the right way. And within this episode, it starts with Arnold and his family is going to. They rent out bicycles to a man named Mr. Horton who runs a bicycle shop. And what happens is that Arnold is convincing his dad to own that he wants a bicycle for his birthday, and his dad kind of agrees to it. So what Mr. Horton does is he kind of helps Arnold sweet talk to his dad, and then also he then tells Arnold, why don't you hand out flyers for me at your school to help sell my business, and then I'll give you this free radio for your bicycle. So Arnold does that at school. He tries to hand out flyers, but also his friend Dudley does it better than he does. So Arnold and Dudley go visit Mr. Horton, and then they develop a friendship with him. And they had like ice cream and like Boston cream pie with him. But then what also happened, and pizza as well. But what happens at one of the visits is that Mr. Horton leaves a pornographic magazine on the couch cushions. So Dudley and Arnold look at it, and then what happens is he says, it's the human body is like you look at art and paintings, the human body naked is okay. Then he shows them pictures. Then Mr. Dudley shows him. Then Horton shows Dudley and Arnold pictures of him naked with other kids and stuff. And then they decide to play a game called Tarzan, where Dudley is riding Mr. Horton, piggyback ride without his shirt on and stuff. And then in the other episode, what happens is Mr. Horton watches them. Mr. Horton, Arnold, and Dudley watch an adult cartoon, and then Arnold leaves. And they also get wine from Mr. Horton. So then Arnold leaves, and Dudley's left alone with Mr. Horton. And then Mr. Horton suggests a game called Poseidon Neptune King of the Sea, which involves them taking a shower together. So Arnold later spills the beans and kind of tells his father what went on and stuff. So his father gets Mr. Horton arrested, and then they discover Dudley before anything happened. Too bad. All the only thing that kind of happened is that he was given a pill and all that. And, things could have been way, way worse. But, they said Dudley was able to recuperate from this. And then they just talk about some life lessons and some morals and stuff. Like, the morals is that if there's any sexual abuse that's going on with children, that should be reported to police. That, instead of dealing with it yourself and stuff, you have to call the police to make sure they know how to apprehend the person so they don't destroy like incriminating evidence. And then also that sometimes people can say that only gay people are child molesters, because at that time there were a lot of prejudice against gay people, and one of the stereotypes was that gay people are child molesters, but it's not that, it's something else and stuff. But also they're mentioning how some parents would blame the child for being molested, but also a loving parent would not do that, and they would get the kid help for what happened to them. So yeah, there's the most controversial thing about this episode is that they do have a laugh track in it, and so I really think the problem is they didn't know what type of show that they wanted this to be. So you're hearing like Arnold and Mr. Horton and Dudley cracking a lot of sex jokes, but yet you're trying to make a story about like teaching children, to report any behavior that's like child molestation and all that, and kind of come forward with that. So they didn't. So I think like if I was in charge of that episode, I would not have a laugh track. I would cut down on the jokes a lot, because it really doesn't make it appropriate. And also sometimes I do appreciate them having a episode that's really like serious and stuff. So sometimes when that happens, you have to kind of tell yourself you cannot put anything in it that's too comedic, because it ends up destroying your point and the message that you want to make and stuff. And I really think that's kind of like the big thing and stuff, So obviously they should have been like less on the jokes, they should have gotten rid of the laugh tracks because it makes it kind of disturbing and stuff like that. But overall, I think it's good that they make a great point. That be that. So that's all I gotta say about this episode. Excuse me, there's an asshole like outside, fucking around with his car. But that's all I gotta say about this episode. It's very well made, but I think that sometimes if you're gonna make a story or if you have a TV series or anything that's usually a comedy or whatever, and you're trying to make a social point, you have to throw a lot of the comedy. You have to throw away what you usually do just to tell the story you want to tell. So, if you usually do, like to talk about Family Guy and stuff, that, if they're going to do more dramas, they have to make episodes without any black comedy jokes and all that. They just have to stick with drama just to make that sell and stuff, So that's kind of the main thing about that. Sometimes you have to pick and choose. You can't just incorporate everything and make something great. You have to kind of pick and choose just to have that greatness. And that's all I got to say about this episode. So overall, I really appreciate them for trying to make a social message, encouraging people to go forward, but also at that time, they were a very successful series and they were very popular and stuff. So it's great that they make episodes to encourage people and talk about really serious issues. But if you're going to do that, get rid of laugh tracks and get rid of comedy and stuff, and just stick to what you need to do to sell your story. All right, that's all I gotta say about this. But overall, really good episode, and I really appreciate them trying to bring awareness for a very disturbing and controversial subject matter.